guys, I'm gonna honk the horn. Hopefully it doesn't knock my camera off. So this thing sounds like a tugboat. It's got like a foghorn. It's the craziest horn I've ever heard. Hey, happy Thanksgiving. I'm actually recording this video on Thanksgiving right before we're fixing to sit down for lunch and have a big meal, and it's my most favorite holiday because of the food. But I wanted to talk today about the 1971 Ford F-250 Highboy that I've had. Now, you've seen it in some previous videos, and I said I was going to do kind of a more thorough video on that, and so today's that day. It's a 94,000 original mile truck. This is the cool part, and this is pretty much why I bought it. It was originally a U.S. Forestry Service truck in California from new. They actually put a utility bed on it, and I'll show some pictures of the utility bed. It's actually behind the camera because I took it off. But it was part of the U.S. Forestry Service truck for about 8 years. It was sold at a U.S. Forestry Service auction in 1979. The gentleman that bought it owned like a bulldozer company, like he did land management and things like that in Idaho. So the guy bought it. It was a Northern California truck, spent a lot of its time up in the northern part of California, and then was moved to Idaho for this gentleman's dirt moving, And then in 2015, the gentleman passed away, and his son actually drove to Idaho, got this truck, put some new tires on it, and drove it all the way from Idaho to his home in Mustang, Oklahoma. And that's where it stayed until I purchased it in right around, I think, 2019. So I've owned it for almost 3 years now. So what makes this truck special, other than the documentation and the history of the Forestry Service, which I thought was really cool, it was built in San Jose, California, and it was sold out of the dealership Haberfeldy Ford in Bakersville, California. I've got the Marty report, and this is telling me all this. So if you have a Ford truck or a Ford car, you can get a deluxe Marty report or just a regular Marty report. I got a deluxe report because I really wanted to see the history of this. And it shows in some of the other letters and so forth that accompanied this, it was built as a cab and chassis. And there's a little bit of confusion on whether or not this was actually ordered by the Forest Service, the National Forest Service, in this configuration, or whether it was it actually had the utility box put on it at the dealership and then painted. It kind of goes back and forth on that. But what's weird, and I'll show you that in a second, is the factory paint, which is boxwood green. The box is actually boxwood green too. So I'm not really exactly sure what happened there. That is what really got me excited about this truck when I went and looked at it. Is I test drove this thing, and guys, it's so solid. The gears shift good, the steering is tight, everything on this truck is really neat as far as the originality of it. It's just a very solid truck. What was even, kind of just sealed the deal when I was there buying the truck was he gave me the keys. All the latches on the utility box still work, and they're keyed, they lock, everything works. And so I just had to buy it. But it's got a 4-speed new process manual transmission. It's got the divorced transfer case, which is a true Highboy item. It's all original, matching numbers. It's got a worn M8000 winch with remote control in the cab. It's manual steering and manual brakes. Now, it says here, utility bed is factory original. So this is what I'm talking about. If anybody knows anything about this, I'd just be curious to get that information because I want to confirm that or not. So really just cool history. I've got all this stuff and all the maintenance and all the stuff that goes along with it. About this truck. So it is a solid truck. Now, they did some things throughout the years. You can tell that there was probably what I would call West Coast mirrors on this truck at some point, because you got some holes there, and you've got some different holes for the mirror brackets. So at some point those were removed, and these kind of later model mirrors were put back on it. Now I'm going to be putting it back to the California style mirrors, the big towing mirrors. So I'm going to be doing that myself. But other than that, everything is very original on this truck, except for some really cool features. Here's a good shot of the front end where it's got this winch bumper and the M8000 winch on the front with all the controls that go into the cab. Guys, it still works. This thing fires right up, works great, no problem. I've yet to pull anything with it because I don't know how old the cable is, but it looks in pretty good shape. But the winch does work. Some other really cool things that were added onto this truck, obviously the spotlight through the cowl here, but the steps, again, I don't think this is a factory thing. This is an added on thing, but it was a period correct thing that I've only seen a couple of these steps being used throughout the years on trucks, and mine's got both of them. So when you open the door, I'll show you from this side, that step slides out, and here's another shot of it. It makes a lot of racket. But see how that comes in, and it opens up, and you've got this step here that you can then step on to get into the truck. And it usually has a little Teflon guide right underneath there, and I've got some Teflon, but I'm taking all of those off and gonna sandblast them and get them all nice. And again, whenever I went to go purchase this truck, there were several things on this truck that made me just go for it. Man, there's a bunch of moths in here. Is just the originality of this interior. I mean, the seat is literally almost perfect. It still has the headliner, the original steering wheel. Now the dash pad is cracked a little bit. But everything on the inside, every gauge works, every switch works, everything works on this truck. I mean, it is an amazingly clean truck. Now, it's dirty because I've been working, but there's the winch controls right there, so you can kind of see how the Warn winch is working. There's the transfer case, shift lever, and the 4-speed. And then they added, right there, they added what looks like something to kind of hold a CB radio and some additional gauges. So there's another look at the odometer, 94,773 miles, because I've driven it a little bit. There's the original radio. It does not work because what they did, and I can only assume that the National Forestry Service did this, because it kind of looks to me like a governmental installation. It's really well done. It added this auxiliary tank gauge for that big 30-gallon tank that's in the rear, plus it's got a tank in the cab. And so it's got an amp meter right there and the gas gauge for that big 30-gallon tank. And then I can only imagine, don't know if this was, just even the fact that it's the same color or very close to it. I don't know if this was added later, maybe when the gentleman purchased it for his land business. But obviously this was to hold a CB. And then what they did is they put in kind of a more modern radio at some point. And there's a little CB holder right there. But then you get over to here. This is really cool, and we'll dive into that in a second. Here's another look at that step. Now this side has the little protective thing on it to where it doesn't make as much noise when you open it. But that gives you an idea of what the step. So they just literally welded it to the bottom of the door, and it's just this little slide mechanism. Now this is a really cool little feature. Again, this to me looks like the Forestry Service installed this. There's a little latch on the bottom here, and you unhook it, and it comes down, and this canvas pack comes out. Check this out. And it is a first aid kit that rolls out. Check that out. And it's all original. It's never been used. In fact, I don't even think it's been opened. Look at all that. I know the lighting is not great. Comes with tweezers, comes with scissors, comes with all this stuff. B.F. McDonald and Company, distributed in Los Angeles, California. So it's just a period correct first aid kit, and nothing's been used out of it. Look at it, it's all brand new. And it just rolls up and fits into this little thing right there. I just thought that sold me right there. And then above, you can kind of see they actually came with road flares, little road flare holders, gun rack, of course. Now again, when we took the bed off, you can see that the original color is underneath there. They just painted obviously what they could touch with their paint gun. But I'm going to be actually painting it back to this boxwood green color. So I'm fixing to start body work, put the new mirrors on, all that good stuff, and getting it back to original condition. So guys, I hope you liked this overview of, I think, a very special and very unique truck. The fact that it's original miles, under 100,000 miles. It's got the Forestry Service background and history. It's got all these little cool little additions to it, like the first aid kit and the CB and the ox tank and the spot. I mean, just all the stuff, the winch. It's just, I think it's a really cool truck. And the fact that it is a true Highboy with the divorce transfer case and all that good stuff really makes this truck a special truck. So I'm going to be restoring this. So we're going to be kind of doing some firsts on this. We're going to be having the dustless blasting, come in and do the frame and the body and all that good stuff and kind of get it down to the bare metal to where we refinish everything. This isn't going to be a quote-unquote frame-off restoration, although we are talking about taking the cab off, so that we may still do that. But I just want to get it to where it is refreshed, is basically the best word. I'm not going to rebuild the engine. The engine runs great. It's no problem. Transmission shifts great. But just clean it all up. Service it. Make sure it's got all the fluids and things like that are topped off and running good. Repowder coat the bumpers, repaint the cab, and then I'm really going back and forth. I originally was looking for a fleet side to actually turn this back into a pickup truck. Then I thought, no, I'll put a flatbed on it. I don't think I can, guys. I think the history of it having the utility body on it is a really good history and a very interesting history. What is my ultimate goal? What am I getting to? Well, I'm going to be putting this on a national website probably in the next 60 days or so to sell. And kind of one of my thing was, I think it would probably bring more money if it had the pickup bed on it. But at the same point in time, I think that that's really short-sighted. I think that, I'll let the next owner make that decision. I think it needs to stay with the utility box. I think it needs to stay kind of the way it was. And we can argue from factory or very close thereafter. I think it needs to stay the way it is, and I think it needs to go to somebody up north. I think it needs to go to Montana or Idaho or maybe Northern California again and serve as a logging truck or just something cool that you can get in. It starts every time. I've never had a problem with this truck. It is just absolutely a beast. But it needs to be back in the mountains, and obviously Oklahoma, we don't got any mountains around here. Plus, I've got so many other projects and so many other trucks that I drive for my construction business and towing business. I was at one point going to make this kind of my towing mascot, put my name on it and all that stuff. But I've got some news for the towing company pretty soon, so I'll save that for another video. But guys, give me your comments. What do you think I should do? Do you think I should kind of take it back to the way it was? Should I put a fleet side bed on it? I will tell you that I'm very, very heavily leaning towards the utility body, so I don't think you can change my mind on that, but give me some reasons. If you know any of the history about this truck, if you know kind of how it was done back in the Forestry Service back in the days, did they order it from the factory with the utility bed on it and it was all painted at one time, or is that something that was added after it was bought? Was it a special order? That kind of stuff. I just really would like to know those things, just from the history, but also I'm sure the person who's going to buy it next would like to know that history. So guys, that's the truck. I told you, I promised for years that I would go over a little bit more detail about this truck, so I did. Now we're going to start the restoration. Now, some of you might remember, I think my last video, or maybe the video before, I did a engine replacement on a really good friend of mine's truck for a not-for-profit called the Honor Crew. Well, I'm going to show you some the reveal of when we actually brought the truck back to him right now. Or I say right now, when I brought the truck back to him, and he was just so excited. We delivered it to him, and it's running great. He said it's literally, and these are his words, not mine, that it's never run and drove the way it does now with the new engine in it. So he's ecstatic. He's very happy about the whole process. So here's some clips of that, kind of the reveal when we brought it back to him. All right, he had to go get his Honor Crew hat on. Here in a second, we're going to have the big reveal.
I appreciate you doing this, buddy.
Yeah.
This is huge. Yay, look how good looking this thing is. Hey, good job. Good job. Let's see this. Listen to that. It's running. Good job, Taylor. So proud of you, man. I am so proud of you guys. Thank you very much. This is so cool. I just cannot believe it.
Chandler's put a lot of time and effort into it.
Man, how good. Wow,
yeah, you're going to see your new engine.
Oh, yes.
Look how quiet it is.
It's that other thing. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. My goodness. It's never looked this good. Ever.
No.
Ever. That's so cool, guys. That's so cool.
We got a lot of new parts on it. Runs as smooth as ever.
I want to get Wendy out here.
He went in to get you.
Yay!
Yep.
Listen to it. Good job, guys.
Yep. He went in to get you, and then
He's probably more excited than I
Yeah.
I know you've been bumming her car
am. Did you see it?
this
Look
whole
at
time.
Come on, look at all this. Look down in here.
It's amazing.
God.
It looks new. That's impressive.
That is really impressive. That is so
Guys,
good.
But guys, until next time, God bless. Come back. We'll be doing more videos on this, and I've got a lot more videos scheduled over the next few weeks. So stay tuned. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, because I've got a lot of content coming your way probably over the next 2 months. So guys, God bless. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, and I'm fixing to go eat a bunch of food. So I hope you do the same. See ya.